Thank you, Adrian. And it's great to be here, and I'm thanking you all for the perseverance and the patience to be here at like 3:30 in the afternoon. So thank you all for being here. Really encouraged and pleased by the last couple of days of presentations, very, very good presentations, and encouraged really in how we've had success, some success and progress in integrating renewable energy projects at mining sites. So I'm really, really encouraged with that. I wanted to shift gears a little bit, and we've been talking over the last couple of days about about active mine sites. I wanted to switch gears and talk a little bit about abandoned mines and abandoned properties that EPA about 8 years ago started this program, which was called Repowering America's Lands Initiative, which is siting renewable energy projects on contaminated lands, landfills, and mining sites. What this does is a lot of times when we have these sites, they're truly abandoned and they're non-performing assets. So in essence, what we're trying to do is to take these mothball sites where you don't have much revenue generated from that, or we call them brown lands or brownfields, and convert them to green energy producing and productive lands. So that's the emphasis behind this. And what we are trying to do under this is to take these non-performing assets or non-performing lands and work with the community and to harmonize what we want to do in developing these lands and making them more productive, and harmonize that with the community's vision of what they want to see the future land use to be at these different sites, whether they be landfills, other brownfield sites, or mining sites. So we see some advantages that we believe, and I think maybe this is elementary for you, but we have this generic presentation, so I'm sort of going through this, and in essence, what we're trying to do is build some sort of a sustainable land development strategy in some of these communities, especially mining communities. We also believe, at least for mining sites, you have existing infrastructure in place. So you may have roads, you may have buildings, you may even have some high power transmission lines in some recently abandoned facilities or inactive facilities that could serve as an advantage from an economic standpoint for putting a project at these abandoned sites. Additionally, you have the opportunity, because these are sites that are in some municipalities or states, they're non-tax generating revenue streams. So you could probably, in a lot of cases, not every case, pick these properties up on low dollar amounts. So in other words, the real estate values of those properties are low, so maybe that also adds to the project economics that you might want to consider. So you can pick them up on a fairly good discounted rate. Another advantage may be that since a lot of these were zoned industrial facilities, so you don't have the rezoning requirements or zoning requirements. So if you had to carve out a greenfield site, that you have to go through a lot of zoning requirements. Where you have a brownfield site or a formerly used mining sites, you have the advantage of not having to rezone, and that saves time as well. And the biggest advantage, we believe, and that I'll show you a couple of case studies here, that the communities are willing and accepting of these types of green projects, especially in the western United States, and even in the eastern United States, to develop these properties and to provide low-cost, clean energy to these communities over a long-term basis. Here's some examples. These are not all EPA projects. The one on the left top is basically the Bethlehem Steel company that was in Lackawanna, New York. It's 35 megawatt wind turbine generating facility. This was very economically distressed. It was by Buffalo, New York, and it was very economically distressed when the steel industry went down. So this is something that revitalized the community and put economic value back in there. So it's a like I said, 35 megawatt wind generated facility. The next one over to the right is Chevron Cuesta Molycorp site in New Mexico. It's an active molybdenum facility, and we were able to work with the state of New Mexico and the community in the village of Cuesta to put a 750 CPV panels, concentrated photovoltaic panels on a 20-acre parcel of old abandoned tailings. So we were able to site these facilities on these tailings for dried out tailings. So it's generating power, 1 megawatt worth of power, and it's supplying that to the town of, or the village of Cuesta. So this is another story. This has been done under our Superfund program, which is a Superfund site, which is like we're sites. So we work with the Chevron Venture Capital and Chevron, who are really the project champions for this, and they wanted to do this. And I'll come back later and point out some little nuances in this particular property when I go through the end of the list of sites. So that was under EPA. The next one over in Wyoming is an old refinery, oil refinery, and it was also a wind facility, and it's generating about 16.5 megawatts of electricity for this particular facility. And then at the bottom right is another Superfund site in California. It's the Aerojet site, where we've put a 6 megawatt solar facility at this particular site. So what the point here is, it's not all Superfund and EPA, but there's the states and other federal agencies that are involved in redevelopment and reuse of these properties for productive economic reuse. And renewable energy is something that we're all kind of encouraging and promoting to be placed in these, or to be sited in these former either contaminated lands, landfills, or in this case, mining sites or mineral processing sites. This is just an informational map of, we just did this mapping. This is, all different types of jurisdictions. There's 110 projects that were identified, renewable energy projects across the country that have installed various different types of, either solar or wind or geothermal, and different types of projects, hydro projects across the country. Now, this is something that we pulled together and put on our website just for informational purposes. This is based on what's publicly available information, as well as press releases from different companies and other communications that we've had. So it's just showing that this has been done, and it can continue to be done in the future. So that's the point of this informational slide. Basically, what this is just a quick on, basically you have 20 wind generating facilities that are producing most of your power at these 110 sites. The 20 wind facilities, large scale, producing about 486 megawatts, but then you have more solar facilities, which are smaller scale, producing about 204 megawatts of power. Now, the reason I'm thinking, and what we believe is that, and this is the theme of the panel discussion as well, is community acceptance of different types of renewable energy. So we believe that there's more of an acceptance to solar rather than wind, and then the other part is the permitting requirements for wind may be longer than solar panels. So that's basically our couple of thoughts on why we are seeing more solar projects versus wind projects, even though winds are generating a higher capacity. Sorry, I mean, I had to fit in, I was trying to fit in all these sites, 11 sites on this table, but I'll just highlight a few of them. One of them, number 3, which is the Summitville mine site in Colorado, is a Superfund site. It's at an elevation of about 11,500 feet, which, I don't know, maybe 4,000 meters or something, 3,000 meters. It's a fairly high altitude site. And in essence, it's an old gold mine with heap leach operation. It was underground mine and it had some open pit operations as well. So it has a long-term water treatment acid mine drainage component to it. So this hydro plant that we put in was only 0.03 megawatts, but it's going to be enough power to supply for your treatment operation at this site. It's under Superfund jurisdiction. It's a small-scale hydro to power the site remediation at the site. The next one I wanted to highlight is the Zortman-Landusky site. Again, I'm giving you a mixture of Superfund versus other jurisdictions. So this is a Zortman-Landusky mine site is in Montana, and it's a Bureau of Land Management or Department of Interior lands, and the state of Montana also has, it's a mixed ownership site. So basically what they're doing over there is also employing a 0.23 megawatt wind energy to supply power to the pump and treat operations at this site. So those are smaller scale facilities. Now, if we jump to, again, the Chevron Cuesta project, which is in New Mexico, it's a solar, it's 175 CPV panels generating about, 1 megawatt. This is being supplied to Cuesta. Now, we got involved in this site with the community, we meaning the Environmental Protection Agency in our Region 6 office in Dallas, and New Mexico. New Mexico has a pretty conservative remediation and reclamation standard where tailings are required to have a 3-foot engineered cap. And when we looked at the data for the groundwater through lysimeters, they had a 6-inch cap on it, and we weren't seeing any evidence of any groundwater exceedance. So we negotiated and talked with New Mexico, and Chevron was in the discussions as well. So can we do a pilot at this 20-acre parcel where we'll put, at 7 acres, we'll put a 1-foot cap, another 6 or 7 acres, we'll put a 2-foot cap, and then we'll put a 3-foot cap at the other part. And then we put this concentrated CPV panels on there, and we're going to monitor it for 5 years. And if the results come back for the groundwater monitoring, which is also going on, to see if the 1 foot is effective, Chevron had made a commitment at that time that they may expand the footprint of that CPV facility to make it a larger scale plant, because it's economics driving it, because if you put a 1-foot cap over 100 acres versus a 2-foot versus a 3-foot. So this is something that we were able to participate and, I don't know if you want to call it negotiate, but it was just sort of getting and trying to get a project moving and trying to get involved and trying to help out to get these, because we're encouraging and promoting these types of facilities being developed in these properties, even though this is an active site. But we've been involved in that and try to encourage that and try to participate in that discussion to make these, to facilitate these types of facilities being sited at these mining sites. And the last 3 is the Dave Johnson mine, which is in Wyoming, and basically the partners in this were the state of Wyoming and Office of Surface Mining, which is coal mining. They regulate coal mining in the United States. And it's like combined is 270 megawatts of wind. So what I wanted to show here is scale, which is the 0.03 hydro for powering remediation at the Summitville mine. It's a hydro, it's a different type of operation. And that's under Superfund jurisdiction, to a little larger one under Superfund jurisdiction, which is the solar property, which I just talked about, the Chevron Cuesta mine. And then the other properties, the one that I was talking about, the Dave Johnson landfills, the Dave Johnson coal mine, as well as the Lackawanna ones, which we're showing pictures up in New York. Those are under state jurisdictions or other property jurisdictions. And then finally, the one in Zortman-Landusky in Montana was under Montana and BLM, which is under Interior. So what we're saying is there's a mixture of jurisdictions, a mixture of different types of technologies that are employed, and a mixture of goals. I mean, is it to supply large scale or small scale, depending on what the site operations are. Again, we can do this. So that's the point. I mean, it's been done, and we're encouraged to continue doing these types of operations. Now, I just wanted to highlight some of the tools and resources that we have available on our website. We work with the Department of Energy. They have this Google Earth platform where they can map and give you a 30,000-foot view of solar, wind capacity, or what you have potential for across the U.S. and other places as well. So that's there. We've done some fact sheets on solar and wind decision trees, more aimed towards the developers as well as the communities. And then we also provide technical assistance, some seed money to have the National Renewable Energy Lab within the Department of Energy to do some feasibility and economic feasibility as well as technical feasibility of these projects. Side by side, I mean, it's a very little seed money. Our budgets are cut, so anyway. So it's just, it was more, but now it's less. Then we also did, because we've had 5 or 6 outreach efforts with developers, with the mining industry, as well as the solar and wind and other industries as well. And one of the big things that they raised was liability issues, because if you inherit these, like if there's a Superfund site, you don't want to inherit the liability issues associated with it. So we've come up with a 7-8 page fact sheet on tools that can relieve the liability to not only the developer, but also to provide assurance to the financing arm, like the banks or whatever, who are financing these projects, that they will be held harmless, and through comfort letters or other types of tools that we have. So that was something that we were asked for in these forums, and we were able to come up with that to give some sort of assurance that they're not stepping into a big morass of liability. Then we also have these various other tools that I'll skip over for the sake of time. Again, for focusing on mining sites, we have used this mapper that DOE has put together to focus on what the potential is for various types of projects on mining sites. We've also done in our web page, we have success stories and communication lessons learned from these sites. And then others, we're also collaborating with the Council of Environmental Quality, CEQ, in the White House, and working with other federal agencies to consider other federal sites that can be used as potentially for renewable energy. And that feeds into the climate change action plan that we have as an agency to come up with more greener, less carbon technologies, and try to come up with more greener technologies. And also that was based on the President Obama's memo for the federal agencies to reduce the carbon footprint and to develop greener, cleaner energy sources. So we're working with that. And we've also sort of, in the last month or so, there's been also a regulation that was introduced, a proposed reg for CO2 reduction on utilities, which is coal and natural gas, or existing facilities, of reduction of 30%. Or by 2030. So this is another opportunity for renewable energy, in other words, to maybe think about something. It's just an opportunity. Just highlighting that. What happens politically, I have no idea. So, so that's basically what it is. And then we've been getting into inquiries about pump storage, and we just don't have any. The storage is, again, is a theme in this particular conference as well. So hopefully there's some solutions out there. And then finally, again, we keep on coordinating and collaborating with the locals and on the federal level and the state level, and with industry and other stakeholders. So I'm going to identify these as opportunity zones. There's 66,000 plus sites that are tracked by EPA, other states, and other federal agencies, of which there may be 185,000 renewable energy opportunities that may present itself. Now, this data comes from our EPA program, NREL, which is the Department of Energy that mapping wind, solar, and biomass resources. The Seventh Methodist University and the USGS, U.S. Geological Service, has mapped out some geothermal potential. The Department of Homeland Security also has on U.S. highways, railroads, transmission lines, which may be kind of important in thinking about renewable energy, and substations. And then the states of, many states down there from California to West Virginia and Virginia have also entered their data into this system to say maybe these are opportunities that are out there for abandoned mines, and actually not abandoned mines, it's all abandoned properties that could be benefit from redevelopment and reuse and citing renewable energy. So this is how the 66,000 facilities break down. This is basically Superfund tract lands, which is 600 to Brownfields. So federal is like almost 27,000 properties. And then we combine it with state properties, it comes up to 66,000. So it's just a little breakdown of what those facilities are. This is just using our DOE National Renewable Energy Lab mapping, and it just shows the different types of opportunities from green remediation, which is what we call smaller scale, to operate on a mine so they can do pump and treat operations and remediation, and to larger scale, potential larger scale operations, be they wind, solar, or geothermal, as well as biopower. This is just an example of the Castleman old coal mine site in Pennsylvania. The picture on the top left is just before it got developed into a wind farm, which is in 2013. It's generating, I think, 15 megawatts of power in Pennsylvania. Continuing with the support, we have assessment feasibility study supports that we provide, seed money, and then we have best practices and as well as success stories and lessons learned, whether it's renewable energy projects. We have an air and a solar fact sheet, and then just considering whether you should use renewable alternative energy as Superfund sites. So it's just a bunch of tools that's out there that people are welcome to go and explore. Additionally, for specific projects, we have the Casper Wind project, the Chevron, New Rifle, and Summitville sites. There's write-ups on those as well. And there's other websites, just laying out the resources and providing where you can find different types of information. And that's about it. I tried to keep it short. Hopefully I didn't go over my 20 minutes. And thank you.